The winter wind howled like a wild beast, tearing through the skeletal branches of the ancient forest. Snowflakes fell thick and fast, turning the world into a swirling white tempest. Somewhere in the heart of that frozen chaos, a small figure struggled through the storm, her breath a mist in the bitter air. Elara's boots crunched against the snow-covered ground, each step heavier than the last. She was a huntress of the northern wilds, skilled and proud, yet today she felt her strength slipping away. The storm was unlike any she had ever faced, a cruel, relentless force that seemed bent on swallowing her whole. Her heart beat steadily at first, a steady rhythm that kept her moving forward. But as the storm deepened, the warmth within her began to fade, replaced by an icy numbness that crept into her bones. Her breath grew shallow, her vision blurred. The world tilted, and she collapsed against a tree, her fingers digging into the snow. "Not yet," she whispered, fighting the encroaching darkness. Far from the forest, in a small village nestled in the valley, a young man named Kian sat by the fire, tending to his simple home. Kian was a healer, known for his gentle hands and kind heart. His life was peaceful, grounded in the rhythms of the earth and the people he cared for. But tonight, something stirred in his dreams, images of a distant storm, a fragile figure lost in the ice. He woke with a start, a strange urgency gnawing at him. Without hesitation, he grabbed his cloak and stepped into the night. The silent rescue. The forest was silent, save for the mournful wind. Kian's footsteps were cautious but sure as he followed a path only he seemed to know, guided by instinct or perhaps something deeper. After what felt like hours, he found her, Elara, half buried in the snow, her skin pale and her lips tinged with blue. Her heartbeat was faint, barely perceptible beneath the cruel cold. "Kian," she whispered, eyes fluttering open. He knelt beside her, his breath clouding in the frigid air. "You're safe now," he said softly. "I've got you." With careful hands, Kian wrapped her in a thick blanket he carried, pressing his own warmth against her frozen body. Slowly, he lifted her into his arms, carrying her through the storm toward the village where warmth and safety awaited. The fire's embrace. Inside Kian's humble cottage, the fire roared to life, casting golden light against the shadows. Elara lay on a bed of furs, her body shivering uncontrollably. Kian worked quickly, removing her wet clothes, wrapping her in dry layers, and applying healing herbs to her chilled skin. He murmured words of comfort, a soothing rhythm that matched the pulse of the fire. For hours, he stayed by her side, offering sips of warm broth and encouraging her to breathe deeply. Her heartbeat, so faint in the storm, began to strengthen under his care. A fragile connection. When dawn finally broke, Elara opened her eyes fully, the warmth of the fire rekindling her spirit. She looked at Kian, gratitude and curiosity swirling in her gaze. "Why did you come for me?" she asked softly. Kian smiled, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. "Because no one deserves to be lost to the cold." They spoke long into the morning, their worlds slowly weaving together. Elara told him of the wild lands beyond the forest, the ancient magic, the hidden dangers, and the loneliness that came with her life as a huntress. Kian shared stories of the village, of healing, and the simple joys of human connection. Though their lives were different, a fragile bond blossomed between them, nurtured by warmth and understanding. The ice storm's secret. But the storm had left its mark. Elara's strength was returning, but something in her eyes had changed, an eerie, distant shadow that troubled Kian. One evening, as snow once again began to fall, Elara confessed a secret. "The storm, it was no ordinary storm," she said, voice trembling. "It's tied to the ancient curse that haunts these lands. A darkness that feeds on cold and silence." Kian listened, heart pounding. The villagers had whispered legends of a curse long ago, a spirit trapped in ice, seeking to freeze all warmth and life. If the curse grows, it could freeze not just the forest, but everything beyond, Elara said. And I'm its unwilling key. The choice. Kian knew he couldn't let that happen. Together, they devised a plan. Elara would return to the heart of the storm to face the darkness, but she could not do it alone. Kian, with his healing touch and warmth, would be her anchor. As they prepared to leave, the village gathered, their hopes and fears wrapped in the fragile threads of this unlikely alliance. Into the heart of the storm. The journey back into the wilds was brutal. The wind clawed at their faces, and the cold bit deeper than before. But Kian's presence kept Elara steady. His warmth was a shield against the creeping frost. At the eye of the storm, a towering pillar of ice shimmered, an ancient prison of a malevolent spirit. Elara stepped forward, speaking words of old magic. The ice cracked and groaned, the spirit stirring. A fierce battle ensued, the air thick with cold and magic. Elara's strength waned, but Kian's hands glowed with healing fire. Together, they shattered the icy prison, breaking the curse that had bound the land for centuries. The thaw. With the curse broken, the storm began to fade. The sky cleared, revealing a brilliant sunrise that bathed the forest in golden light. Elara, exhausted but free, looked at Kian with tears in her eyes. "You saved me," she whispered. "No," Kian replied gently. "We saved each other." A new beginning. The village welcomed Elara as one of their own, and the wilds no longer seemed so distant. Her heartbeat, once fading in the ice storm, now pulsed strong and steady, fueled by the warmth of human connection and the promise of new beginnings. Together, Elara and Kian faced whatever the future held, knowing that even in the coldest storms, the human heart can bring light and life.